Oh man, think about that. You know, you're Don Young. You've been in office for a long, long time. Now, look, I've said it. You've probably said it or thought it. Don Young needs to retire. It's time for Don Young to retire. It really is. Once you've gone past the 30-year mark in office in Washington, D.C. Well, let's just take Senator Begich, for example. By the way, you are listening to Alaska Matters Radio. I'm Chris Story. You can listen back to this program on topoftheworldradio.com is the website. On topoftheworldradio.com. You can listen back. And actually what you do is you click on the radio tab, and then it offers you three selections: Alaska Matters Radio, Radio Realty, and On Top of the World Radio. So you can listen to any or all of those at your convenience. And don't forget, On Top of the World Radio is now on iTunes as well. If you're a subscriber to iTunes, you can listen to those daily minute podcasts there, and they're posted every day. So, you know, Mark Begich, 6 years in office, already has acclimated. This is the perfect example of how we've lost, you and I both, but I'm going to say you. You've lost control of your representation because 6 years in office, already, former Senator Begich, became such an ingrained Beltway member of that society, such that he can't leave. It's not fair to his son. What? You're an Alaskan. What happened? Oh, no. Once you become a politicrat and you're in Washington, D.C., the state from which you emanate, it's gone. You're no longer part of that state. You are becoming part of the state. You become a part of a different state altogether, an altered state. Because he couldn't, Senator Begich, just such as a clear example and illustration, you can't pull his kid out of school in Washington, D.C. It wouldn't be fair to him. And you buy that? No, you don't. Alaska Dispatch, if you're not reading the letters to the editor, that really, the news on the Alaska Dispatch, whatever. I mean, you're better off listening to this station. Tim White, Dave Webb, Dave Becker. You know, they bring you all the news you need to know relative to what Alaska Dispatch will bring you. It's the same thing. But here's the deal. They've got these great letters to the editor. And a lot of times that's all I look at, you know, because by the time I look at the Dispatch, I knew that, whatever. Here's the perspective that I like. Is listening to what actual Alaskans are saying and thinking rather than what an out-of-state owned and controlled blog, essentially, which is what the ADN has become, rather than focus on what they want us to focus on. I like what the Alaskans are saying. So here's Tom Ely out of Anchorage. Tom spelled T-H-O-M. So I'm going to say Thom. Thom says this: what is Young's purpose? It is nice to see that our congressman for all of Alaska, quote, all of Alaska, is busy in Washington, D.C. He wants to feed homeless people to the wolves. He is concerned about members of Congress flying in private aircraft, and he has introduced legislation that would allow hunters to bring elephant ivory from elephants they've shot back into the United States. For the life of me, I can't figure out what the value of any of these endeavors are to Alaskans. Thom Ely. Well, what Thom is referring to, I can't say it with a straight face. What Thom's referring to is this exchange between Congressman Young and he was reprimanding the EPA, the head of the EPA that was sitting there in front of him, and he was reprimanding relative to the delisting of the gray wolf, and so he actually then turned on 79 other members of Congress, and here it is.
You have a bunch of people within these agencies making decisions without consultation with you or consultation with the state or the native groups, which they're told to do under the law. They go like this to the state of Alaska, this to the Alaska Natives, and say, we are the Park Service.
Sir, I know that there is...
That 79 letters that you just sent to people in that wolf deal, how many of you got wolves in your district? None. None. Not one. 79 people sent a letter concerning your deer herd and elk herd and want to say, don't delist, and by the way, thank you, delist the gray wolf. The gray wolf, in fact, is a predator which is killing the cloven hoof animals. And we get 79 congressmen sending you a letter, haven't got a damn wolf in your whole district. I'd like to introduce them in your district. I'd introduce your district, you wouldn't have a homeless problem anymore.
Oh, what? What'd you just say? There it is. Spokesman Matt Shukarow said that Young's comments were related to addressing homeless weren't related to addressing homeless populations. He said they were hyperbolic and meant to show wolves pose a threat to wildlife management and have damaging effects on communities. Young earlier voiced frustration with the lack of consultation with the state and native groups on issues. Of course, you just heard that. Park Service. I didn't mean to say EPA earlier. Park Service. So, interesting. So what is Don Young's purpose? Don Young's purpose is to mix it up.
Congressman, I do not believe that money
You don't
for a
think
medical...
it'll happen,
Can I finish?
do you?
Would you like me to answer the
No,
question?
I want to ask you which department. You answer. Which department would you take it out of? It's your responsibility. You won't let a road be built. You have not allowed this, and I'm losing lives. I just think that's very inappropriate. And by the way, does a helicopter bother the birds on that refuge?
Sir, I'm sure when a helicopter is flying, it bothers birds on the refuge.
Just like the birds out here on the George Washington Parkway, we have thousands of cars go by and they're about 6 feet from the road. The birds get used to it.
Congressman, the Eisenbeck National Wildlife Refuge is unique. It has been recognized as wilderness by Congress back in 1980 as a wetland of critical international significance. The birds that are in that area are different than the birds in the Potomac River.
They are no different. They're the same type of bird, same species as far as genetically goes, and you and I know that.
No, sir, the Pacific Black
There
Branch
is exactly the same attitude. They have get used to it. It's not new. They have traffic on that refuge, and you and I know it. The difference is I have a people over here, a group of people over here. And do you have grandkids?
No,
No. Do you have children?
two,
How old are they?
29 and 28.
Okay, they're in Cold Bay now. They're not in Cold Bay, they're in King Cove. And they get sick. And there's no way to get across there, but you don't have the road. And winds are blowing 80 miles an hour. There's no way to go. Because the Secretary of Interior, this one and the last one, said we couldn't build a road. This Congress passed the ability to build that road. And your son is dying. I hope you feel good about that. I really do. And by the way, I want to congratulate both of you. If we had a show of dancing like they have on television, both of you would be outstanding dancers on that show.
See,
I watch this program in my office. I love your answers. It's dancing, and yours is just as bad. This hearing accomplishes nothing because you don't take the time to communicate with us here through our offices, picking up the phone. We have these hearings, and nothing occurs. So, Madam Secretary, I told you when you were sworn in, I'd get a little more involved and say, what can we help you in your district? How can we be a benefit to you? Instead of saying, we're the Secretary of Interior. Don't question us. I'm just suggesting you ought to do it. And by the way, if someone dies
Here it is.
out of King Cove, I want you to really think about it and be ashamed of yourself.
Ah, the money shot right there.
Expired.
Yeah, there you go. That's the purpose for Don Young, Congressman Don Young. With all due respect, he's a bomb thrower. He is somebody that can really say what's on his mind. Now, sometimes he has to go back and apologize, and sometimes he's just flat out blatantly bombastic and obnoxious. But that's what his purpose is right now, and it's your job and it's my job to, in this moment, decide who will replace Don Young. We need to not let it be the Democratic Party or the Republican Party or the Libertarian or the Green or any other party. It needs to be you and I, not somebody who is hand-selected because, it's their turn, or because Forrest Dunbar did so well in the last election. And Acorn could have done just as well. I like Forrest. I spoke to him numerous times. Nice kid, nice guy. But it's not up to the parties. It's not up to the parties. And G. Edward Griffin makes a great point about that. We'll come back and listen to that. We'll do the Alaskan Mindbender, brought to you by Blackwater Bend Espresso. Tara Kane with Anchor Point Natural Foods has got a message for you. And I'm going to share with you something that I probably shouldn't. It's inside information. But the antidote to depression, fear, hopelessness, and poverty without a prescription. We'll talk about that here on Alaska Matters Radio. Don't go anywhere.